What would you do if the grandmother you thought was dead for 40 years suddenly walked into your wedding, alive, elegant, and holding proof she never died? That's exactly what happened to me. And what she revealed turned my family's history into something straight out of a movie. Growing up, I believed my grandmother, Charlotte, died in a car accident when my mom was just 16. My grandfather, Max, told us her car went off a bridge, and all they ever found was her purse. That was the story I grew up with. There were no family photos of her, just one faded wedding portrait on my grandfather's dresser. Anytime I asked, he'd shut the conversation down. She was wonderful. That's all you need to know. I never questioned it until my wedding day. When I got engaged, my grandfather insisted on helping pay for the wedding. He was 78 now, still living in the same house my mom grew up in. He even crossed names off our guest list, relatives from Charlotte's side. He said they'd lost touch decades ago, but something about it felt strange. Then, 3 weeks before the wedding, he showed up with a velvet box. Inside was a pearl necklace. These were Charlotte's. She'd want you to wear them, he said. It was the first time he'd ever given me anything of hers. On the big day, everything seemed perfect. My grandfather walked me down the aisle, scanning the crowd nervously. The ceremony ended, and at the reception, I noticed him arguing with a hall manager, pointing toward the entrance. I brushed it off until 7:30 p.m. That's when she arrived. An elegant woman in a navy dress stepped into the reception carrying a small gift bag. I assumed she was from Gavin's side of the family. 10 minutes later, gasps erupted. My mom had collapsed. We rushed over. The elegant woman was kneeling beside her, holding her hand. Someone whispered, "She just fainted," when that woman spoke to her. I asked who she was. The woman smiled and said, "I'm Charlotte, your grandmother." My world rose. My grandmother had been dead for 40 years. My dad stammered that it must be a mistake. But then, my grandfather's voice cut through the silence. Shaking, white as a ghost, he whispered, "Charlotte, it was her." My mom came to, looked up at her, and whispered one word, "Mom?" And Charlotte nodded. The truth spilled out like a storm. My grandfather insisted she died in that crash. But Charlotte snapped back. They found what I wanted them to find. She opened her purse and pulled out yellowed photographs. My mom, as a child, sitting in her lap. Proof. Guests thought it was some elaborate surprise until Charlotte explained everything. The marriage had been abusive. My grandfather had a violent temper. She knew if she tried to leave, he'd kill her. So, she faked her death. She left her purse by the bridge, swam downstream, and a friend drove her to the airport. She started over in California with a new husband, and now, 40 years later, she had returned, not for revenge, but to finally meet her granddaughter, me. The reception turned to chaos. My mom wept, touching her mother for the first time in decades. My grandfather hid in a corner, trembling, refusing to speak. Later that night, Charlotte handed me a small wrap box. Inside was a silver bracelet. She said, "I bought this the day you were born. I've been waiting for the right time." For my mom, it was the shattering of a lifetime of lies. For me, it was like meeting a ghost who was flesh and blood. That night, my family discovered the truth. My grandmother hadn't died. She had survived. She had escaped, and she chose to come back when she finally felt safe.